speaker, Dr. TPS, the space scientist, Dr. TPS, the Deputy Director for Secretariat Department in Prime Minister's Office, Dr. TPS, spiritual guide, motivational speaker, director for many things, chairman for many things. He is himself a university. और ESNF की जो हमने फाउंडर इंस्पिरेशन ली थी राजमाता विजया राजे सिंधिया साहिबा की, उसके बाद ESNF को चलाने का काम अगर किसी ने किया है तो वो डॉक्टर TPS ही। और अगर मुझे भी हमें 3 साल पूरे होने वाले हैं, तो इस पूरे कार्यकाल में मुझे जिसने सबसे ज्यादा टोका है, सुनाया है, वो डॉक्टर TPS। Even before he get into the conference, he said, Aishwarya, if this time things were not proper, I swear I will give you a 1 hour lecture. So it's a pleasure having you, Dr. TPS. And now what I wanted to know from you is that please, आप आज मुझे और हमारे पैनल को कुछ ऐसे बिंदुओं पर मार्गदर्शित करें जहां आप समझते हैं कि शिक्षा प्रणाली में परिवर्तन होना चाहिए, परिवर्तन की गुंजाइश है और परिवर्तन किया जा सकता है, और कैसे बच्चों को अपने साहित्य के माध्यम से इंस्पायर करके या फिर कई और तरीके जो आप महसूस करते हैं उनके जरिए बच्चों में एथिक्स इनकलकेट किए जा सकते हैं, because every person can't enroll their child in a boarding school or every child can't get into a boarding school. So for every children are children who just don't go to school. तो हर स्तर पर किस तरीके से इस इनिशिएटिव को कैरी फॉरवर्ड किया जा सकता है? This is my question and I wish you have understood what I want.
Namaskaram. Thank you, Aishwarya. I have no answer for most of the questions, as others have straight answers. If I had answer, probably I will not be here, right? If I understand somebody's question perfectly, I will not be here. Definitely I will not be here. Why we are all here is probably because we have no answers. We don't understand questions perfectly. Somebody says boarding school is very good, but I don't know how many of you know that who started UGC, who started NIT in India, who was the first education minister of India. Aishwarya knows who is the first education minister of India? Don't Google it. We are discussing on education and Aishwarya is a cute, wonderful boy. Yesterday I was asking him question that he was in Gwalior. I came up to Dholpur. He says, I don't know where is Dholpur. The geography is not known. So you can imagine the education system is such. I interview people in MBA, ask them, give a map which they would have studied in 7th grade and ask them to show where Bombay is, where Delhi is, they don't know. Okay. Either you study in I have never seen a boarding school for my education because I am from a small village. I am not educated in English medium. Probably I will have a lot of mistakes in my grammar. But I have studied Run and Martin totally. I taught Run and Martin in my life. I don't know how many students learn Run and Martin. I have never been a boarding school, but the last day I was there in Dholpur military school for 2 days session. I have gone to all the Navodaya Vidyalayas, probably 530 Navodaya Vidyalaya. Teachers and principals attended my session. You heard somebody from Dubai because all the 110 Dubai school principals were learned from me at least a few days of classes. I have seen from US to Germany to Fiji to Hong Kong to different parts of the world only on education discussions, probably 3-4 millions of students and teachers. And what is happening is we are not going into roots. We are only superficial nowadays in relationship, in discussing. Somebody talks about SDG. SDG came how many years back? Now we are discussing about SDG now, and 2030 it will be over. Now 7 years to go, we are still thinking about how SDG has to be done. New education policy have come into place for discussions for so many years. I am 100% sure nothing is going to come in practice. I'm very glad when Mehtaji talked about awareness and doing what you really require, right? People are good in awareness, writing examination, getting certificates without even understanding the core meaning of what is happening. We have DU schooling. I don't know how many of you know. I asked the question about who is the first education minister. He never attended to school. His schooling was at home. So you can learn things from home. My father is different, my mother is different, my colleague's father is different, my colleague's mother is different. So why you need the same education for everybody is a good question to be asked. The other day, 1 month back, I released 6 of my books, which are collection of all the lectures which I gave on early childcare educational only. 4 of them are on A to Z. The topic itself is given from A, B, C, D up to Z. So 4 volumes, which was released in Delhi. Another one was the mental health of children, and another one was how from pregnancy people can be taken care of. So what you can learn is starting from the pregnancy time. Somebody was mentioning that we have got a small home with only very few people, interaction is less. That's where my concept of Grandma Child Care Shiksha Gurukulam. All books are on Grandma Child Care Shiksha Gurukulam. Can we recreate a social structure in small way where parents, grandparents, learned wisdom people, different religious people will come and talk to you so that you understand the society perfectly well. You imbibe not only your parents' qualities, but you imbibe what is all good and bad. That's somebody to decide which is good and which is bad. So you should have a not a focused one, maybe a brighter perspective of looking at the world. Education up to 7th class is only to understand my life and life around my life. It is not for anything else. In which probably language skill, like critical thinking, what Mehtaji discussed about, analytical skill, mathematical ability, communication skill. Communication is not language, it's being creative. So all these have to be learned from childhood before 7th class. If that is done, probably rest of your life becomes so simple. The other day, it was on 23rd September 1st. I number them as 23, 2023, YY, MMDD. 230901 DrTPS. If you type, you will get a sloka which is explained perfectly there. Which the essence is, somebody is taken to the first step of a staircase. Even the light is off, you are blind, you can still climb the steps. So what is basically taught is more important. What is showing the path is more important than teaching them. Just now somebody was mentioning they don't like maths. I am a mathematician basically. My PhD is in physics. My paper got published in chemistry. I worked in making maps. That means geography was my subject. And I have got a lot of students on civil service wherein I teach history, different subjects. So it's not the subject matter. It is how to learn is what we have to learn. That's not happening in classrooms. A cook is not a good cook only when I know how to cook one item food, I know every item to cook. A student is good only when they know all the subjects to learn. So what is lacking today? Lacking is good teachers. Lacking is the perspective of understanding the objective and scope. The purpose of life itself is not understood perfectly. We have bad practices of eating, body, emotional control, intellectual, social and spiritual. If this fivefold development doesn't happen in the way it has to happen, and you are living in the world where everything runs very fast. The beginning discussion was why people don't respect their parents or why they misbehave. This is my book on Life Made Simple, in which all these books can be downloaded. It talks about realize now, otherwise you are late. Point number 1.5. I respect my parents because they have more knowledge, but today parents have less knowledge, children have more knowledge. So definitely children don't respect their parents. You don't respect teachers because teachers have less knowledge, but children have more knowledge. So unless you upgrade yourself to the all technology, I remember writing this book on adaptive learning 17 years back. How to use internet for teaching. No books will help people, only problems will help people. Professor COVID made all of us to use internet, and that's why me and ISWARYA got contact during the COVID, and that's why we are on Gmeet now. If COVID was not there, I would not have met Mehtaji, I would not have heard Shifali Chopra or maybe Ajay Singh or Chauhan. Nobody in this world. I got connected to maybe hundreds of countries, started teaching MBA program in Philippines. I went to last month, almost this time I was in UK, because I've got 200 teachers taking the tutors in UK, the Indian students teaching in UK for the those native students. All these are because of COVID. So I'm sure this book was not useful. Though I wrote pedagogies and practices for e-web net learning 17 years back, how to go on internet teaching and learning. Unless there is a problem, people don't. So what is to be done is, your education needs to be more practical, more professional. You have become so theoretical that maths teacher don't understand why they are teaching a minus b into a plus b is equal to a square minus b square. You don't understand why you are learning history. If you don't understand, I am learning history to know my world, know India. If you don't understand Swami Vivekananda, you don't understand India. Because Swami Vivekananda once told, excuse me, you will get India. I don't know how many people have the courage to tell that, you excuse me, I will get India. So that much knowledge I have about my world. So education need to be more core into the subject than superficial, more into giving certification and programs. It's a character building. Swami Vivekananda told education is man-making process. The real me in me has to be identified with the character which I have, not the behavior pattern which I have. The behavior is so momentary. So what is lacking is not the teachers, not the schools, not the society. We don't have good mentors. There are a lot of people who lost many things in their life, they become mentors. The easiest method is anybody who failed getting into IIT can train people into IIT. People who did not get into civil service can start training people into civil service. You can imagine a place, I don't know how many of you have seen the Kota Factory series which came. I don't know how many of you have seen such places where you can imagine hundreds of chemistry teachers where they have not even realized or they have not even learned chemistry, but they can still teach. Understood? So you don't have to understand yoga, but you can be a yogacharya. I keep asking the yogacharyas the first chanting which they have. I have been lucky to be part of great realized people like Swami Rama from Himalayan tradition, KPC, Brahmashri KPC Arjan Bhattadripad, who was a Tantri from Kerala. We all learned by traveling with them, living with them. When yoga is being taught, they say yogena chittasya. The yoga is only for the mental strength. But what is being understood by yoga is only physical exercise, monkey's job. So I have put a video which says yoga is not a monkey's task. Right? Yogena chittasya padena vaja. Padena vaja is you be a communicator. That is part of yoga. How many people understand that communication is what is yoga? Third one is malena chittasya. All the malam in the shariram has to be cleaned. Vaidya kenacha. You are a vaidya. How to live, how to lead life is what is to be learned from yoga. Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. How many people understand 8 steps of yoga? So we have become so superficial, and everybody wanted to be a teacher before they really learned. no patience, and this is what is the problem of especially India. That is why India is very bad in the happiness index than the neighboring countries, because we wanted to act better than learn better, right? So there is a great change required, Aishwarya ji, but I have no answer, because it's only advertisement, and it is only superficial cover which is being sold, but not the real content inside the cover. Disc cover is essential so that people understand what is inside very perfectly. I can go on and on, but I don't think I kept A to Z of life 2000 in my YouTube. Probably you should Google DrTPS and then find out and come for discussions if you want more details on this. So that's all for this time. Thank you.
Okay, listening to you, like for me, it's very phenomenal. When I have any query, I know that DrTPS is always available for me. For people, not for me, but for people who really want him, who really need him. So it's a pleasure having people like you in society. It's a great privilege that I have